morning. Welcome to my happy place. Hi, Jane. I see you've been waiting a while. Welcome from Wyoming. And Diane, good morning. Just to let you all know, I am having to monitor the comments. I knew I could come up with that word by myself. So I will make sure that I try to get them all okay. If I miss anything, don't be upset. I will do my best and maybe even get back and answer some of those questions later. Today, the template we're going to work with is going to be, hi Sandy, welcome. Is going to be the apple core. Now, this is not one that I've used often. Hi, Sharon. Welcome and good morning. So I did some practicing with it to get prepared for today, and I found a couple things I really like about it. First, the apple core is a very easy template to use. Okay. Good morning, Diana from Ohio. And Sandy, of course, is down in Tampa. So I was really impressed with this. This template is the second template that I purchased. Okay. The first was the hearts template, this template set. And you know what? I have to, come clean about this. I've not used this on a quilt. I really have not used this at all. And so you guys are getting the nitty gritty. Okay. It's going to be a lot of fun, though. I'm looking forward to it. Hi, Aaron from Ohio. Again, please don't be insulted if I miss a question or miss anybody coming in. I am a one-man band this morning. Hi, Trees from Utah. Let's take a look first, as I always encourage you to do, is to take the little booklet or pamphlet or sheet of paper that comes with our templates. Now, the apple core. It says continuous background fill designs is much more. And there really is. It's amazing how much more we can do with them. I'm not going to be able to cover it all in this amount of time. What we have is we have three templates in this set, and they are a 3-inch, a 2-inch, and a 1-inch apple core. Now, the instructions that are in the pamphlet that comes with the templates is actually pretty easy to follow. And when I looked at it, I kind of went, ah, the light bulb went on. It's stitched in 2 rows. That's why it can be done without a ton of traveling. If you try to do the entire rotation, you are going to need to travel to get back. Now, one of the other things that I found is I found these designs to be really interesting in that I never would have thought we could do all this with the apple core, but we can. So we can do clamshells, and this is like a clamshell and a row of apple core, then a row of clamshell, a row of apple core, a row of clamshell. I don't think we're going to get to that one this morning. I hope we can, but I'm not quite sure. So the directions are here. There is a video on sewsteady.com, and underneath the apple core, there is a video by Leonie West on how to use them as well. So, Marie from Quebec, good morning, MW, and Christina, Southwest Kansas. I hope you guys aren't getting too bad of weather down there. Okay, so first thing I want to mention are the lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 2-inch because they're easier to fit the whole thing into the camera. There we go. Good. We've got numbers and we have lines. These numbers are really important, okay? Because this is the way we're going to stitch this is using these numbers and these lines. Here's our vertical on each side. And here is our center horizontal. Now that line we're not going to use a whole lot, but it can be used. The more important line is going to be these horizontal lines right here. And I'm going to show you why in just a minute. The 1 inch has, believe it or not, all the same lines and all the same numbers. A lot of times what I've noticed when we're dealing with templates is sometimes the smaller ones might be numbered a little differently because you would go about stitching them a little differently, but not the apple core. Once you've mastered one size of the apple core, you have mastered them all. Isn't that awesome? Good morning. Oh, I already said good morning, Marie, but I'll say it again. I apologize. So what we've got is we're going to stitch from 1 to 2 to 3, then we're going to slide our template over and it's going to bring us right back to 1. And that's going to be the first row. The second row, we're going to stitch from 3 to 4 to 1, and we're going to slide it over and it's going to bring us right back to 3. Now on the left side, we will need to do some traveling, but it's minimal and it's definitely doable. So let me get some things out of the way here, and we'll start with the 2-inch. Oops, I lost my gate. There we go. And I'm hoping that the new Apple core templates have the needle channel instead of the gate, but I'm not sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my corner and I am going to Silver Dolphin, hi, it's nice to see you. Janice, nice to see you as well. Welcome. What I'm going to do is you see I have a stitched line here and I've just got like an 8-inch square. I am going to line up these edged lines between 1 and 2 on the 90-degree angle of that corner. And then I'm going to put my foot down because that's what good mothers do, right? Uh, Turn it this way so you guys can see better. Remember, if you sit too far back when you're lining things up, you will not be lined up properly. So you want to get as close to the top of that as you can where you're lining it up. Okay, let's go ahead and bring some bobbin thread up here. I do normally like to keep my bobbin thread underneath my template. It makes life easier. So you'll see I'm lining up, this would be normally a horizontal line, and I'm lining up this vertical line. And we're going to start at number 1. That makes sense to me. Okay, just going to get my thread out of the way here. Stay lined up. Take my first stitch in place. And off we're going to go. Now remember, with all of our curvy templates, we want to make a little shorter stitch. And the reason we do that is because it will appear much smoother. The line will be smoother because our machines only stitch in one thing, and that's a straight line. Everything else we need to control ourselves, and that's not the worst thing. Okay, realigned here. I've stitched from 1 to 2. Now I'm going to go from 2 over to 3. And we're going to stop right there. I'm going to turn this so you can see it. And I'm just going to slide my template over. And again, now you'll see I'm back at 1. Isn't that cool? I love this. Okay, take my first stitch in place, making a little bit smaller stitch than I normally do to make sure everything looks really nice and smooth. We're going to stop at 3, and we're going to just simply slide our template. Now, to me, it doesn't get any easier than this. And what's cool about this is if you want, you could just leave it like this on a border, on a sashing. Okay. I'm giving this to you guys from all different angles. I want you to be able to see really well what I'm lining up. What I'm lining up is this line and this line. At this point, this line and this line here are really not being utilized all that much. And you'll see I got my square off a little bit, but that's okay. Not worried about that. This is just a practice piece. I do find going in increments of 2 inches is best for this particular size of apple core. So what we've got now, I'm going to take this off and show you. Normally I would not take this off at this point. Oh goodness. Get that tape out of the way. So now what we've got, you'll see, is kind of like shark fins coming out of the water. Okay, I know that's kind of sick, but it's just what I see, and you never know what's going to come out of my mind. Okay, all righty. I'm getting my computer is ding-donging at me. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead, put it on back, put our template back on. And remember with the gates, it's going to give an abbreviation of the template that we're working on, in this case, AC for apple core, and this is our 2-inch sides. So it's easy to find where it belongs if you end up with a jumbled mess on the floor. I've never done that myself. Oh, good evening, Melbourne, Australia. So nice to see you, Mahia. Okay, now we're on number 3. What's important? The important part of this is that this edged line, the vertical edged line, lines up with this point here, right where that point goes around. We also want to make sure that our horizontal edge line matches and lines up, which it does. We're in really good shape here. Now I'm going to stitch from 3 to 4 and back to 1. And we're going to meet up with the previous clamshell. I got a little rambunctious there. Okay, now we're just going to slide it over. We're going to make sure that we are lined up here and here, and it looks really, really good. And off we're going to go from 3 to 4 to 1. And we will stop right there. Make sure your needle is down when you stop. That's really important. And it's important because we want to make sure that we don't get our piece and our template all cattywampus. Again, lining up here and here. And if you want, you can use your spacing gauge. It will tell you you're correct there and here. and it looks really, really good to me. I'm going to turn you back just a little. There we go. Okay, so this will be our third apple core. And for those of you who've been stitching or quilting for a long time, the apple core is actually a very old design. You can make a quilt with apple core pieces. I never have. It's a lot of curved pieces, and if you want to practice curved pieces, getting the apple core is the perfect pattern for you. Okay, so we're going from 3 to 4 to 1. Okay, so now what we want to do is get to the next row. So what we're going to do is we're going to travel to number 4. And we're only going to be traveling on one side, which is really pretty cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and slide that template so that our foot ends up in the number 2 slot. And we're going to stitch to number 1. Oh, one other thing I really don't want to fail to mention. The the bottom portion or the bottom tip of the row 1 apple cores are going to just graze this 1/4 inch mark. So we're at 2, we're going to go back to 1. And here again, we're going to backtrack. If you do not move your hands and you do not move your template and you do not do not kind of go like this, basically what's going to happen is you're going to end up exactly where you need to be. So what you'll notice here, I hope, we're at number 2. We've gone from 1 to 2. Now we're going to go 2 to 3. And my square is not quite square, so 2 to 3, and we're going to stop and slide that template over. You'll see, I think we can get you to see, oh yeah, good. You'll see that this vertical line intersects this point right here, which is the point on our apple core. Oh, hi, Lois. Okay, another Michigander. Welcome. Good morning. We're just having fun with the apple course here. I think that this is going to be a template that I am going to be pulling out much more often. I've got to tell you, I really like it, guys. I really do. And I just got off a little bit. No worries. I just went ahead and made that extra stitch to fit it in there exactly where I wanted to be. Okay. So now we are at number 2. I was putting us at number 3. And there, you can as well put some honesty lines in here. Okay. What honesty lines are is it's just somewhere randomly in the pattern, say, at 4 inches, put a line vertical, a line horizontal. Then you'll make sure that you're continually lining up the apple cores. And the reason that that's important, and not just with the apple core, but with all templates, is because every time we stitch, we are shrinking our fabric just a little bit. It sucks that fabric in. It's really not an appreciable amount, but it can get your design off by a stitch or 2. And it's easier to correct that stitch like I just did here than it is to try and move the whole design. And with this particular design, it's important because you can see how many intersections we have with our design. We have them here. We have them along here. We will in a moment have them here as well. So it's a good thing to get accustomed to doing. And one stitch in the center of a design is not going to show. If I was trying to make my my correction at the beginning or end of the design, I think it's more apparent that it's there. So, the other thing, I sometimes just have to you saw me move the fabric over a little bit like this. It's okay to do that. It's absolutely positively fine because what you're doing is you're just straightening everything out. I'm telling you, yeah, you know what? You're exactly right. I love it. You asked the question before I saw it. Okay, so I hope that's helpful because it does draw up, okay? And you'll see in here, I'm just about a quarter of a stitch away. I'm not going to worry about that. In the grand scheme and overall, your eye will not pick that up. Okay, because there's so many that are done the way they're supposed to be. That's what your eyes are going to see. So we've gone from 1 to 2 to 3, and now we're just going to go ahead and slide that template. And again, I'm lining up this vertical line here just to make sure, and our horizontal line should just graze. Let me get it over here. Our horizontal line is just grazing the bottom of the previous row. And I'm going to go ahead and get this off of here so that you get a chance to see it well. Okay, you'll see how that just grazes there. And that's awesome. It works and we can like MW said, how do we make those adjustments? We can make those adjustments. It's really rather easy. And sometimes I tug on my fabric, my quilt square a little bit. It's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. Whoops, almost moved it too quick. And we're going to come down to number 3. I've got a little surprise for you when we get another row in here. Slide that template. Make sure we're lined up. And again, don't be afraid. Use your spacing gauge if you need to or if you want. It makes it very comfortable to ensure that we're exactly where we need to be. Little shorter stitches. Look at, isn't that gorgeous? I love it when a plan works out. And back down to number 3. And we're going to stop. It's okay to move things now because we have our needle in our fabric, okay? And that's what's important. So I'm I just this is so important, guys. I know I keep repeating myself, but I think that this is what's going to make this design very successful, is to continue to line up the vertical and the horizontal lines. And this particular row, we want this horizontal line right under the number 1 to just graze here. And again, whoops, we can set our spacing gauge in there, make sure everything is copacetic, and it is. So here we go. I'm going to hurry this one along a little more because I've got something that's really rather cool. Okay, number 3 and number 4, and back to 1. Those of you who know me know that I'm usually a pretty slow stitcher. Okay, and part of the reason that I'm having a little bit of a difficult time making sure that this is lined up is because I'm sitting behind the camera. And when I'm sitting behind the camera and this is lined up like this, it actually looks like I'm right on. But you'll see how far off I am. So if I turn my whole project to see it from a different vantage point, sometimes it's really easy to pick up on those things. Okay, here we go. And we're going to come back down. And look at perfect this time. But you'll see why that can happen or how easily that happens when we're not looking as straight down as we can. Okay, here we go. And this is going to be the last row that I'm going to do on this 2-inch, because the next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to turn this into a cathedral window. Okay, let's take that out and get a look at it. What do you think? Do you think that this looks like it's really an easy one and one that you think you can do? I mean, just think of how fast you would be able to do background fills with this. And the small number one, you could so easily do fills around a central motif. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stitch back up, I think. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stitch back up. I don't need that on right now. And I'm going to start at the beginning. And bear with me because I know I can do this. I already have, but only one time. And sometimes it takes more than once to get something through this brain of mine. Okay, so what we've got is we've got our apple core. To make a cathedral window, what we want to do is twist that apple core. So now we're going in the wrong direction with it. Okay, we're going to go from 4 to 1 to 2. I've got everything lined up. 4 to 1 to 2. And it looks like I might come down just a little too far on that. Oh no, perfect. Okay, now I'm just going to slide. Literally going to just slide like I did for my apple core. Okay, again, now we are number 4. We're going to stitch to number 1 and number 2. And I'm going to slide again. Make sure I'm all lined up. Our vertical line wants to bisect this right where we've already joined designs or joined motifs. 4 to 1 to 2. We're going to do that one more time. Start at number 4. And we're going to go to number 1. And number 2. So there's the first half of our cathedral window right here. So now what we want to do is we want to bring this down. And this time we're going to go from 2 to 3 to 4. You see why these numbers are so convenient, aren't they? So 2 to 3 to 4. I personally think this is the easiest cathedral window I have ever made. Okay, I'm going to slide that template. We're going to go 2 to 3 and back to 4. And we've got 2 more rotations here. There we go. 2 to 3 to 4. And one more time, and we will have this first row completed. I am very anxious to be able to turn around and see what y'all have to say about this. I just love it. You know, you could do just this row alone on a sashing, on a border. You could use your 3-inch apple core to do this. So there it is. There it is. Yeah, thank you, Orly. Oh, okay, Patricia. Come back anytime. Good morning, Bran or Catherine and Aaron. 2 for 1 templates. You're absolutely right. I love being able to take the templates and doing different things with them. And I think in her mind, that could very well be what Leonie was after when she did these templates. So I will go ahead and I'm going to do one more quick row, and then I'm going to show you some other things that might be fun. Okay. Yeah. Our templates really, we're very fortunate because we do have a plethora of designs that we can stitch with our templates. Okay, so back to our design here. You remember when we had to travel on this line and this line. So this would be number 3 to 2. I, oh, we had it the opposite way. But what we can do if you do not want to backtrack, okay? Some people really don't like doing it. What we can do, excuse me, is come right down the seam here to number 2. Now this is going to be a half a motif here. And I'm going to turn it here. I want to make sure you can see everything. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip my template around. And you see how it's pulling up MW? It really is shrinking that design up. So I'm going to come down about another half an inch, and everything looks much better lined up that way. And fortunately, this is the seam line. Nobody's ever going to know. And I will never tell. Okay, and we're going to stop at 1. Continue on to 2 after we're sure we're all lined up. This is so much fun. And now we're just going to slide that template. And again, we may have to make some small adjustments here. If we do, it's no big deal. There we go. I had to make like a half a stitch adjustment here. No worries. And you know what? If it is off just a little bit, well, I don't think any of us here are perfect. If you are, I want to meet you in person. Because I know I'm so far from perfect, it's not even funny. Okay, so here again, we're going to need to do just a little bit of fudging. No worries. We'll go ahead and fudge that and come in 1. There we go. I think with the cathedral windows, the important part is that they meet on the intersections as well as we can have them meet on the intersections. And down we go. We've got one more rotation to put in here. And down to number 2, and we have this one in the can. There we go. Pull our needle up. Now, like I said before, I really truly believe that this is the easiest cathedral window I've ever stitched. I love it. Who's willing to try that? Eleanor, good morning. Hi, Terry. How are you doing? Catherine is here. Aura's here. Patricia has to watch us later, but that's okay. Ara Lee says, Leonie and her husband definitely want everyone to use their imagination and try lots of different ways to use their rulers. He told me one time when he called me to answer a question I had. I was shocked that he actually called on the phone. Or you're so fortunate to have actually talked to him in person. And you're absolutely correct in what you say. Leonie and her husband do want us to use our imagination, try lots of different things, and just let yourself go. Now, the best way to do that, I think, is drawing. The So Steady has a gorgeous drawing pad that's all gridded out for you, has a note place on the side so you can make notations of what rulers and templates you've used. And it's the perfect size. And you know what? It's easy to put in your bag, your project bag, and take with you wherever you go. I like the fact that it's got the square grid on it. That's my favorite part of it. So, do we have any questions on just the regular stitch out or the cathedral windows? Okay. If not, let's go here and do something. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not practice this. Okay. But you know what? It's okay too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put, whoops, I'm going to put my 8-point crosshair ruler on here. And I'm going to make some marks. There it is. To mark up my stuff, I love the clover marker. But the first thing I do with this is I bring it home, I open it up, I take the top off, and I throw the powder that's in there in the trash. I then replace it with Ultimate Pounce powder. The reason I use Ultimate Pounce powder is because it irons off. However, a word of caution. If you're using the Ultimate Pounce powder or the friction pens, okay, which I think it's Pilot makes the friction pens, I'm not sure. They claim it's not made for fabric, but we all know that you can easily use it for fabric and iron it off. The key to making sure that it looks good when it's ironed off is to put down a layer or two of best press or starch. You can use regular spray starch too. And what will happen then is you will have a barrier between your ink, your friction pen, or your powder here, so that when you iron it, you have less of a chance of ending up with one of those ghost shadows. And quite honestly, the ghost shadows do look like ghosts because they kind of look like a less big version of that. Why don't you use what's in it, Terry? That's a really good question. The reason why is because it doesn't come out with heat. You have to go and do a lot more work to get it off. Now, with all that said, any one of these, if we use the clover marker, and the clover marker comes in different colors, or if you use this is just a Fons and Porter. It's just compressed chalk in these leads. This has to be erased. The eraser that they give you is never big enough. So what I do is I go to a big box store and I buy one of these erasers. and it works fine. It takes off. You can see how easily it takes. Whoops, I'm sorry. Let's do that again. You can see how easily it will take that line off. All of these, however, other than I'm not sure about the clover chalk that's in the roller that comes, but I believe it will wash out. This will not wash out. This has to be erased. Okay. The ultimate pounce powder, the friction pens, the ghost shadows will come out in the wash. Now, if you have a quilt that you're sending someplace to be shown in a show, for example, what you do not want to do is you do not want to use friction pens. And the reason I caution against that is because the ink comes back when the pen gets below freezing temperatures. And I know this works because I did take a piece and I ironed it off and I put it in the freezer. And the next day I woke up and every line was back. Okay. So if you're shipping your quilt, chances are it's going to go in the cargo hold of a plane and they are not heated. So when your quilt gets to the show and the show people open it up, it's going to have all the marks on it again. So I really caution you against that. We also have an air erase and water erase. Now, the air erase is really nice because it goes away with time. I do not know if it comes back with temperature. Okay. Um, I haven't tried it. But what I did do is I spent a whole evening marking a whole cloth quilt with an air erase marker. And I mean, my hands actually ended up hurting because I was just drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. And I put it off to the side, came up next morning, was anxious to get started with it, pulled it out. Every mark was gone. The air erase works really well, so I can tell you that. Clover yellow did not totally wash out for me. Okay. Oh my goodness. Diane told us that the yellow did not wash out. She pre-treated it with Oxy. It's very faint, but she knows it's there. And Diane, chances are if you showed someone else that quilt, they wouldn't know. Okay. It's the 30-30 rule. If you're going by at 30 miles an hour and you're 30 feet away and you can't pick it up, it's not a mistake. I did that with air erase on a Hunter's Star quilt, or you know my pain, right? Okay. So now that I tend to squirrel, don't I? We'll try and get through this part next. Okay. So I like this too because it easily goes through our crosshair rulers. I knew the word I wanted to say. When I do crosshair, I always extend the vertical and the horizontal. It's just what I do. Normally, I will also draw in 16 reference lines. And not that I'm going to always use the 16 reference lines, but you know what? It's a whole lot easier to put them in before you've started stitching a design. Because if you need to come back and put it in afterwards, it's a mess. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, so whoops, there it is. There's our 16 reference line. I am under the firm belief that you can use any template for spinifex. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pull our thread up in the center here. put my foot down first because this sewing machine that I'm working on today, it yells at me if I don't do that. One of the reasons I like my old vintage machines. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to line up my 45-degree line on my vertical center. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to stitch one rotation, taking that first stitch in place, of course. Now, I do not want to move my hand because if I do, I chance moving the template, and I don't want to do that. There we go. Thread gone. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm using the 2-inch. I think it's the easiest one for you to be able to see what I am doing. This is kind of going to be interesting to see what we end up with here. I have not done this before, okay? This is the first time I'm trying this. But like I said, I firmly believe every template can be used somehow in a spinning manner. Okay, we're going to come up here, again lining up that vertical 45-degree line. Doesn't matter which direction you go in. I think what's important is to keep that stitch length just a little smaller so we have a nice, smooth curve. Okay. When I stitch, I always like to start slow, work up to speed, just like when I'm driving a car. I don't want to get in my car and slam on the gas. That does not work for me. Now, some other people, it may work for it. And if it works for you, that's fine. I have no problem. I keep mine, I don't set speed on any of my machines because I love to sew on vintage machines and they don't have speed controls. I'm my own stitch regulator. There we go. Okay, Catherine tells us I do the same with my clover marker. Pounce powder is great. Don't like the blue though. Have to try a search for. Yeah, the only one, Catherine, that is iron off is the ultimate, and that only comes in white. Okay, here we go. You can see I'm going across with each set that I'm doing. And the reason that I do that is because it helps to draw our fabric in more evenly. So as things are shrinking up, they're shrinking up in a nice, orderly manner. Okay, almost there. Love this, what's happening so far. This inside reminds me of a shamrock. That's the true shape of a shamrock leaf, which we only see during March, St. Patrick's Day. Not really sure why, because they're beautiful plants. There we go. So we're going to show you each step of the way what we've got going on here. Kind of cool. I'm liking this. I'm seeing template opportunities in here. Okay, so I'm going to take this off, and here is 4 rotations. Kind of cool, huh? It would look nice in a center block for sure. And I'm going to put this back on. Now we're going to do 8 rotations, lining up that vertical 45-degree line. Off we go. Okay, so now we're cutting down those shamrock leaves in there a little bit. Oh, I love how this is just going to meet the point of the first set of rotations that we put in. It's going to get busy though. We're getting secondary designs in here as well. And this is what I mean. Right here, it just touches those points. And you'll see the secondary petals starting to form there. I'm going to turn this here. And I've got to be honest with you guys, I don't turn my fabric this much if I'm working on a project. The reason that I turn the fabric this much is because I want you to have the best vantage point. And it is better to learn to stitch in every direction, because if you've got a larger quilt on your sewing machine, you're not going to want to be heaving it around with every rotation. So it's a good thing to practice going in different directions, practice going away from you, coming towards you, whatever way you need to go. Here we are, coming back to the center. And as far as the thread is concerned, when we have a design, when we're coming to center so often, you could go ahead and just trim that thread. You don't have to worry about burying it. And that is because we're going over that spot so many times. The thread is being buried and knotted off just by the amount of rotations being stitched over it. So save a little time if nothing else. Okay, whoops, and there we go. I got off just a little bit. I think I was squirreling again. We just won't tell anybody, okay? Okay, so now I have 7. Here's number 8. Again, making sure I'm lining everything up correctly. And this is our 8th rotation, and I'm really liking what I see. Okay. Now, even though we're going to go further on this, I've got to tell you from what I'm seeing here, I think I would stop with this rotation. Whoops, I got off. Sorry, guys. I was looking away for a second there. We'll just pretend that's not there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take it off. I want you to see how 8 rotations looks. Would you ever think? Yes, you're right, Donna. Good morning. It is like a Celtic scar. But would you ever think that was an apple core template? Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, it's just we have so many options. So now let's go ahead and try 16 rotations on it. And you know what, guys? This is exactly how I mess around with them. You know, there's something else we can do too, I think. Oh, this is the 3-inch. Okay. So I'm using the largest one here. You're going to get the same design with any size you put on there though. Okay. Gotta drink that caffeine in the morning. Oh, I hope you all got your coffee nice and piping hot. Okay, here we go. Now I'm not going to do all 8 of these because it would take too long and we don't have that much time. I almost messed up here. Okay, I want it in that and there. Okay, we'll do about half of them and see how things go. Sometimes the secondary designs end up being better than the original designs for certain projects. Now, with the 8 rotation, I see a perfect opportunity for templating. I am going to be using these templates a lot more. Okay, so this time I'm not going to go side to side. I'm just going to pull in the next reference line that I don't have a motif stitched on. And I can tell you right from here, I'm not so sure I would use the 16 rotations because the whole thing is getting just a little convoluted here. There's a lot of stitching going on. There we go. And we did that one. Oh, we just did that one. Now we're going to do this one. Kind of difficult even to keep track of where I'm going here. But then again, it's morning. And fortunately, no storms last night, no loss of electricity like the night before. We had 2 losses, loss of sleep and loss of electricity for quite some time. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to do one more of these and then we'll get an idea what the 16 rotations looks like. And this is going to go right here. It's kind of hard to even see which lines have been stitched and which ones haven't. And in this one, there is a lot of room for templing little tiny pieces if you like to template tiny pieces. Personally, I would rather keep them medium-sized to large. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to go ahead and take this out now. And we'll take a look at the difference between the two. Okay. And do we get buildup with thread on this? Absolutely, we do. I don't know if I've talked to you guys or not about buildup of thread in the center. There's a couple ways of dealing with that. One way is to come a half a stitch out from the center to start your rotation. It works. It's not ideal. Okay. Another way is to go ahead and let that thread build up a little bit because it's going to. There's really not a whole lot you can do about it. And you'll see here where it has kind of built up a little bit. So what I do when that happens to me is I take it to the ironing board. Okay. I steam it and then I use a clapper and I hold that onto there and it flattens that thread right out. A clapper is just a piece of wood. They're usually made out of oak, and you use them also for setting really sharp, crisp seams. I have one and I use it often. I really, really like it. Okay, so here we've got from here to here is 16 rotations. And you know what? It looks better now that I have the template off of it. I do like it. I really do. This is a more simple version with just 8 rotations. If I was doing a project assembly, I would probably stick to the 8, But the 16 gives us a lot of opportunities to take each one of these out, and I think it would look stunning. The other thing that we have a lot of opportunity with the 16 is if we want to get our Inktense pencils out and start working with them that way. So what we've learned this morning, apple cores aren't just for apples, okay? We can use them as a rotation. I love that. We can use them to make the easiest cathedral windows I've ever made. Of course, we can still use them as apple cores. There's no doubt about it. Remember, the only thing that limits the somebody said she couldn't see the rotations. Or I can't see the 16 rotations. I apologize. There we go. There's the 16 right here. And I'm going to move that down so you can see it well. There we go. Oh, you're welcome, Aura. You're welcome. Wonder what it would look like using a different size template, Catherine asked. You know what? It's going to look exactly the same. It's just going to be smaller. Okay. Donna, I think Donna wants to use one. Yes, you're right, Donna. You do start losing that petal on the outside. Thank you and welcome, Jane. What I would probably do is I would go in and template these areas here. Templing these small little areas, I've done that. And unfortunately, it's very difficult. It can be done, absolutely. Um, but it's kind of hard to do sometimes. Now, one of the things, you guys are going to laugh at this. I know you are. But one of the things that I have found that works really well for cutting temply is cuticle scissors. That's what these are. These are cuticle scissors. Simple, easy, easy to find, easy to get, inexpensive, and they work like a charm. Actually, I think I have 2 different pairs in here. I do. I do. There's one pair, and here's the second pair. You'll see one is just a little larger than the other. I tend to go for the really tiny pencil or the really tiny ones. These are the snips that I use also, and those are teeny tiny as well. Hi, Jerry. Sandy, I agree. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? So the apple core allows us to do apples. It allows us to do cathedral windows. It allows us to do a spin, which with either 8 or 16. You can also use your 5-point crosshair ruler or your 6-point crosshair ruler. Go for it that way. Hi, Jerry. So nice of you to join us. Thank you. Yeah, Sandy, we can keep going and get all kinds of stuff. What I want you to do next, please don't forget, subscribe, share. There's 3 things. Subscribe and share. Those are the 2 most important things. And like, that's the other one, like, yes. I also would love it if you, when you do these designs, go ahead and post them. Please don't be afraid to post them in the Westalee.com. Go to the Education tab, and underneath there is Instructors. You'll find my mugshot. Hopefully it doesn't scare you away. And you can click on that and go ahead and leave a message and leave a picture of what you've done. I'd love to see it. So I'm going to ask if there's any additional questions. And if not, I think we're going to sign off for today. I just really appreciate you all being here. I love doing this. I love seeing you. The chatting is awesome. And until we meet again, let's quilt.